Ils reviennent, ils viennent dire au chef, mais Sangwassou, on est revenu, mais...
With their ambassadors in his cabinet in Yaoundé today. Charles Ebune sat through those series of audiences and now reports.
3 heads of French-speaking African diplomatic missions are accredited in Cameroon at the Ministry of External Relations today to talk one issue: the candidature of Cameroon to the post of Director General of the Agency for Air Safety Navigation in Africa and Madagascar.
Cameroon has a candidate and he wants Senegal to support his candidate.
Established some 60 years ago to harmonize the One African Air Route dream, the association today counts 18 member countries, France included.
The minister talked about the Cameroon candidacy, and I think we agree about the candidacy.
The audiences granted the ambassadors of Chad, Senegal and Cote d'Ivoire by External Relations Minister were to present the Cameroonian candidature to the post of the Director General of ASEGNA.
About the tenure of our, what we call Commission Mixed Cooperation, to check up the relations between Senegal and Cameroon.
The Agency for Air Safety Navigation in Africa is headquartered in Senegal with a track record on the management of air routes for African space integration.
The Cameroon government has again reiterated its determination to track down and severely punish all those connected to the brutal torture and slaying of Comfort Tumasang in Muyuka last week. The reassurance was re-echoed by the Director of Cabinet at the Prime Minister's office, Ebune Confiance Balungeli, as he conveyed the condolences of the Prime Minister head of government to the bereaved family in Muyuka. Henry McCauley reports from CRTV Southwest.
It was a really saddened Director of Cabinet at the Prime Minister's office who visited the family of the late Comfort Tumasang at the Makanga neighborhood in Moyuka, accompanied by the Governor of the Southwest Region, Benau Kalia Bilai, and the SD of Ofako, Emmanuel Odu in Gamba. Mr. Ebune Confiance went to Moyuka to present words of comfort from the Prime Minister to the family of the late Comfort Tumasang.
The Prime Minister, head of government, was touched not only as a head of government but also as a father, and also a message of encouragement to the administrative authorities and the forces of law and order who are leaving no stone unturned to ensure that security reigns in this place. He also asked me to reiterate the call of the head of state to the youths who are still in their bushes to drop down their arms. We also wish to see this opportunity to call on our population to be more vigilant.
The mother of Comfort Tumasang, who looked shaken but not broken, said even though she has been threatened, she is not ready to flee her home, neither Moyuka, where her daughter was buried last Saturday.
And tonight we continue our series on forest exploitation in Cameroon as we stay in Gambia to talk about the intensity of illegal exploitation of the forest reserve. In the last couple of months, the population of Gambia has been embittered by the rate at which unidentified companies invade their land and fell timbers without their knowledge. This is even more disturbing to them because these resources have live without a concomitant development in terms of roads, bridges, electricity, and related social amenities. Alphonse Abongwa Acho talked with some indigents of Ngambe and now presents the intensity and impact of illegal forest exploitation in the locality.
Each passing day, the people of Ngambe stand and watch how successive logging trucks ferry timber out of their forests. How these exploiters get their authorization is still a question begging for answers. The chiefs are disturbed.
We're not opposed to legal exploitation of forest, but illegal exploitation. You cannot have your house like this, and some people come from elsewhere and come to thief.
The mayor of the locality says it is a practice that has come to his notice since the start of 2020.
We have no documents from these exploiters. In Bakumbe 1, for example, the exploitation is ongoing and nothing is coming into the coffers of the Ngambe Council.
The brunt is more worrisome because the fallouts on road and related infrastructure are far-fetched.
The 5 kilometers road that leads to the village where we used to pay 1,000 francs, today we pay 11,000 francs. We implore the government to come to our aid.
There is suspicion in the air on the complacency of traditional and administrative authorities in this chain.
The fifth phase of the Economic Partnership Agreement between Cameroon and the European Union has been postponed. It has been attributed, the postponement that is, to the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on Cameroon's economy as well as on the European market. However, government sources are reassuring that the postponement does not in any way affect the terms of the agreement. Instead, it will enable the state to implement measures that will protect the domestic economy while intensifying the fight against COVID-19. Clarice Takang now reports on the reasons for the postponement.
Borders closed, leading to a recess in economic activity. It is one of the most visible and greatest effects of COVID-19 globally. Cameroon has not been spared. An estimated 800 billion CFA francs of losses in revenue is what the state has been dealing with, including efforts made to help various sectors stay afloat while the pandemic is yet to be brought totally under control. Invoking the safeguard clause thus becomes a way of ensuring that the domestic economy can stay safe or protected from the consequences of COVID-19, government sources affirm. The clause makes provision for this in the implementation of the agreement in specified conditions. Amongst them are difficulties to ensure food security resulting from inaccessibility of products, benefiting from liberalization, threats to budding local industries, and pressure on the balance of payments. The influence of COVID-19 on these areas cannot be overlooked, according to officials and economists. It therefore became necessary for measures to be taken that will guarantee that both sides eventually continue implementing the Economic Partnership Agreement in order to attain the expected objectives. The third group of products are those with a high return on customs duties, such as transport vehicles, fuel and cement, with a 10% tax exemption which had to begin on August 4, 2020 for the fifth phase. Like analysts argue, exceptional situations can only but call for exceptional actions to address them.
And the fifth phase of the Economic Partnership Agreement between Cameroon and the EU that is today postponed only went into effect, as you heard in that report, on the 4th of August 2020. What exactly were the terms of the postponed fifth phase and how was it going to impact Cameroon's economy as well as trade with the European markets? Ewane Epole attempts an answer.
The European Union Central African Economic Partnership Agreement, EPA, for trade and development between the European Union and Cameroon entered the fifth phase on the 4th of August 2020. This agreement provides a sustainable guarantee of free access to the European Union market, which main export products to Cameroon comprises of vehicles, motorcycles, fuel and cement, among others. Since the 4th of August 2016, 16 billion CFA francs has been generated as custom revenue for Cameroon. Thanks to the partnership agreement, imported goods are expected to witness a reduction of 10% of custom duties henceforth. According to economic experts, in Central Africa, Cameroon is the European Union's leading trade partner. The EPA, as presented by the European Union, objectifies regional integration, development, and economic growth.
The second phase of the annual capacity building program for staff of the National Assembly is underway at the African Institute of Computer Sciences, IAI, here in Yaoundé. For 6 weeks, some 100 personnel of the institution will be upgrading their linguistic abilities and their knowledge on information and communication technologies. The opening ceremony was presided over by the Senior Deputy Speaker, Hilarion Eton. Esther Kmer has the details.
These staff are of the institution where laws are made and so must be shining examples in the implementation of Cameroon's constitution, where English and French have equal status.
There has been some expectations for the English and French to really be put on the same pedestal.
This, the senior deputy speaker, Honorable Yde-Dla hints, is a strong translation of the mastery of the new political dispensation and the aspirations of Cameroonians.
Where we speak both languages is a factor of unity, stability and peace in our country and integration.
To perfect their knowledge on bilingualism and the use of ICTs, the African Institute of Computer Sciences is joined by the Pilot Linguistics Center.
To reinforce their skills as far as writing administrative reports are concerned.
And when through bilingualism a successful way, it must be through utilization of computer sciences.
The objective is to promote linguistic diversity and to modernize parliamentary administration in the country.
Work resumed today at the Ministry of Public Service and Administrative Reform after yesterday's bomb scare that was provoked by the discovery of an insulin bottle in the building that many mistook for an explosive device. Emmanuela Vermeuil was out this morning at the premises of the ministry and observed that the quasi-totality of the workers were back in their office.
The scare is over. The gate opens to a new day as workers make their way into their offices in calm. The control at the entrance is stiff just so nothing filters in. The Ministry of Public Service and Administrative Reform has regained its usual steam. Receiving and treating documents of 260,000 civil servants and state agents is their focus.
Today, after visiting the ministry, I am glad that the call of the Minister for the personnel to resume work was heeded. About 90% of workers are on seat from the CGPS to the ICTs and the Human Resources departments. Even the department where the suspected object was found are 70% present.
The suspected objects that led to the interruption of work turned out to be an insulin bottle. At the second floor where it was found, the occupants on seat are serene and go about their duties. A security meeting has been built for Thursday on how to better secure the ministerial structure.
Thanks for watching the 7:30 news on the Cameroon Radio Television, the CRTV. We are broadcasting live from Yaoundé. The Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Celestine Kecha-Cortez, says she is impressed with the quality of work done on the low-cost houses and their accompanying structures in Marwa that are almost ready to receive occupants. She was speaking in Marwa today during a ceremony to hand over the keys of the houses to the city officials while stressing that priority should be given to less privileged persons when giving out the houses to potential occupants. Henry Tato Ekambi reports from CRTV Far North.
Sekande in the far north's capital, Marwa, is now home to one of the most imposing and important accommodations in the town, the 100 low-cost houses. The houses and their associated infrastructures, like a health center, a nursery and primary school, a commercial center, and a police station, are almost ready to receive people with just some finishing touches left undone. While handing over the keys of the social housing to the concerned officials, Minister Celestine Kecha-Cortez of Housing and Urban Development emphasized that it has been done before its completion to permit the accommodation of COVID-19 patients in its health center.
I'm very satisfied, and it's a proof that the head of state in the 10 region is providing to population decent housing to support the population for the modernization of their city.
Madame Cortez was given a gift and another to hand to the head of state, also donated anti-COVID materials to some associations in Marwa, where she was born.
It's the holiday season in Cameroon and a time that the holiday makers make good of to try their hands in other things away from studies. Most of them either opt for sports or engage in such arts like painting and music to keep time going. Raihanato Salim made a round of some holiday camps in and around Yaoundé to see how holiday makers are engaging themselves during this period of the long vacation.
A dive into the pool to swim her way through the holiday. Swimming is Kunsona's favorite holiday activity.
I chose swimming because swimming is the best sport I like here. I asked my parents and they accepted. I come in my food.
Others would rather play with colors or try their hands at basketball.
We teach the children about drawing, to differentiate color, to be concentrated.
My father sends me here every holidays to come and learn basketball. I like playing basketball. I feel free when I play basketball.
At this holiday camp, it is learning, sports and entertainment.
We have different activities. We have swimming, we have basketball, we have lawn tennis, we have paintings, and we have taekwondo. For the first month, we observe low averages of students coming here. But since July and August, we are seeing a lot of students coming for different activities.
Elsewhere, holiday makers have opted to occupy themselves with music. From classical to folklore.
The wearing of face masks in public places will be mandatory until further notice.
Public health experts in Cameroon have begun expressing satisfaction with the impressive mastery of the coronavirus by Cameroonians, given the impressive increase in the number of persons who have recovered from the virus. According to the health experts, Cameroon, alongside Equatorial Guinea, have had remarkable cases of recoveries from the virus as compared to other African countries that have witnessed an increase in the number of infected persons. Our reporter, Baldwin Sama, is standing by at the Public Health Emergency Operations Center with his guest, Dr. Joseph Fokam, to talk about the spread of the virus in Cameroon and other African countries. Hello, Baldwin, and your guest. If you are listening, take the mic.
Good evening to you, Ben Menopofong. Ever since Cameroon noticed the first case of the COVID-19 in the country on the 6th of March this year, the government of Cameroon has spared no efforts to save into idiots. They put in place different mechanisms to limit the spread of the coronavirus in the country, and that is why the country has had an impressive number of persons who have recovered from the virus, because as you rightly said a while ago, Cameroon and Equatorial Guinea have been cited as two exemplary countries that have noticed an impressive number of persons who have recovered from the virus as compared to other African countries that have noticed on daily basis an increase in the number of persons tested positive for COVID-19. Tonight with our guest, Dr. Joseph Fokam, who is a virologist, we shall try to compare Cameroon and other African countries in terms of managing the spread of the virus. Good evening, Doctor.
Good evening, everybody.
So far, Cameroon has recorded an impressive number of persons who have recovered from the coronavirus. That's to say over 91%. What accounts for that?
Effectively, when we look at the global epidemiological update of COVID-19, we realize that out of the 22 million confirmed cases worldwide, we have just 67% recovery rate in the entire world. Now, when we come down to Africa, South Africa has the majority of confirmed cases, about 61%. In this country that seems to be well industrialized, we have a recovery rate of 81%. Now, coming to Cameroon, where we believe is a low-income country, Cameroon has a recovery rate of over 91%, which stands far above standard of the Western world. And why do we have this great recovery rate is because in Cameroon, We had a very early response to COVID-19 with a well-structured plan for our response. Effectively, also in Cameroon, we have more than 15 testing reference laboratories with molecular assay for COVID-19, and all cases who are positive in Cameroon receive effective treatment, and we are able to do early testing in Cameroon, early tracking, and early treatment enrollment. And for this reason, Cameroon actually has just 2% case fatality rate, and with just 4% of patients who are actually hospitalized.
And tell us finally, Doctor, why is there this fear of a possible return towards the number of an increase in the persons infected for COVID-19, despite the fact that we have less than 2,000 active cases in the country?
Effectively, we don't have to celebrate, because during this week, in France, for example, we had 3,000 new positive cases in a day. In Egypt, we had 1,500 positive cases in a single day. Why? Because there is a slowdown of barrier measures in this country. And temperature, for example, do not have an effect on the virus. If that were the case, then in Europe, we would have not been seeing these new cases. Therefore, in Cameroon, our success story is thanks to our response, is thanks to barrier measures. So what we need to remember is, effectively on a daily basis, we have to wear our face masks, keep physical distancing, knowing that, Barney, if you and I have our face masks, without 1 meter distancing, there is still a risk of infection. But wearing our face masks with 1 meter physical distancing, then we have no risk of infection.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joseph Fokan, for being our guest this evening. And one of the issues cited equally is the creation of this public health emergency operations center by the government of Cameroon, cited by these health experts as one of the response strategy by the government of Cameroon to limit the spread of COVID-19. Back to you, Ben.
Yes, the center building can play the trick, but you understand that strict conformity with the barrier measures will save the country from recording more cases. Thanks very much for those inputs. Let's take you now to the North region, where amongst the panoply of tourist destinations that nature has blessed that part of the country with, one of them stands out as a key attraction to those who go visiting in the north of Cameroon. We are talking here about the Garoua Zoological Park, a sanctuary of animal life that has been existing for close to 5 decades. That's our destination tonight on the discovery of Cameroon's tourist sites. Vanessa Woodnang as Namong of CRTV North is our guide.
Created in 1970, the Garoua Zoological Garden, spread over a 6.5 hectare of land, is the savannah in miniature. Thanks to the variety of animal and flower species it contains.
It was created after the visit of the then president of Senegal, Léopold Sédar Senghor, who also visited the park of Boisa, in the course of which he voiced the wish to have the species of giraffe, which were almost disappearing in his country. We have a lion, hyenas, crocodiles, chimpanzees, monkeys, antelope, eagle, parrots, tortoise, and pythons.
This fascinating animal reserve has for over the years been and remains an important tourist destination in the north, especially during holidays. I came from Gaoundéré to visit the zoo. I've seen different animals and it is a wonderful experience. Officials of the Garoua Zoological Garden promise to enrich this state patrimony with more animals of different kinds.
The need to protect personal data in Cameroon is becoming very crucial, especially now that most businesses and other transactions are going online. The National Agency for Information and Communication Technologies, ANTIC, has been organizing workshops with administrators of e-commerce platforms and other stakeholders in the sector on how to facilitate online data protection. In one of the most recent workshops in Yde-Dla, the director of ANTIC, Ebot Eno, emphasized the importance of data protection, particularly at this time of the coronavirus pandemic. From Douala, Scholar Maloke reports.
The outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic has increased online activities as workers of some companies have to work from home. This increase in internet transactions and information storage has therefore exposed users to malicious attacks by cyber criminals, thus the need to protect their data.
It is very important to protect not just the personal data, but user privacy as well. We need to put in place measures to ensure that data that circulates on the internet, the integrity is assured.
During this workshop in Yde-Dla, encryption and awareness were highlighted as some of the best ways through which data can be protected.
Most of these guys carry out their atrocities on the internet because people are unaware how to use the internet safely.
Participants at this second workshop organized by Antique on data protection are expected to come out with more protective measures for different sectors. By so doing, they will adopt protection of privacy as a guiding principle of cyber security in Cameroon.
Our time is up. Thanks for yours. See you again tomorrow, 7:30.
In this connection, we should avoid stigmatizing